Hello Slaters! Welcome back to the second part of the video explanation for the lesson Natural Realms of the Earth. We had learned in the earlier video about the major domains of the Earth, seafloor spreading, the jigsaw puzzle and tectonic plates. Moving on, let us now learn about the volcanoes and their role in the formation of landforms. Volcanoes are places on the Earth's surface where molten material from the mantle erupts on the Earth's surface. This molten material is also accompanied by steam, smoke, and various forms of gases from the depths of the Earth. Have you ever heard about the Pacific Ring of Fire? Try to find out about it. We shall discuss more on it in our class. These volcanic eruptions lead to the formation of different landforms. They are the intrusive landforms and the extrusive landforms. When the lava cools down in the internal layers of the crust, it becomes rock. The landform thus formed is called an intrusive landform. These are covered with older rocks and are exposed due to erosion. Extrusive landforms. When the lava pours out on the surface of the earth, it forms the extrusive landforms. External factors like water and air work continuously to wear away the surface. They influence in constructive and destructive processes, which in turn leads to the formation of present-day landforms. The wind and water are the third order of landforms, which include carved mountains, valleys, deltas, sand dunes, etc. Denudation is an erosive process of breaking and removing the rocks from the surface of the earth. It is the wearing of terrestrial land by weathering, erosion, transportation, and deposition. Let's understand what is weathering. The disintegration of rocks by atmospheric forces or weather forces is called weathering. Due to contraction and expansion of rocks, when exposed to day and night continuously, the rocks brittle and break down. The rocks also have chemicals which react with air and water, resulting in further weakening of the rocks. The processes by which the rocks are weakened and further broken is called weathering. Erosion. The active wearing away of the earth's surface by wind and water moving agents is called erosion. Flowing water and wind have great power and can slowly wear away or cut away the rocks and soil cover. Water acts as rain, river, flowing groundwater, sea waves, glaciers, etc. Wind acts as storm, gusts, steady winds, etc. Transportation. The eroded material in the form of small rocks, gravels, mud, fine soil, etc. being carried by winds and water is called transportation. Winds and even waves cut soil and rocks from one place and take them to distant places. Deposition. When the rivers and winds slow down, they do not have the force to carry the material anymore and they dump them. This dumped debris helps to form plains and river basins. Much of the debris is transported by rivers to the sea. Debris is deposited layer by layer every year and over the time gets transformed into sedimentary rocks. Thus, all four processes are taking place simultaneously in different parts of the world. Let us now understand how the water plays its role in changing the landforms. The work of a river begins from its very source in the high mountains. The flow of a river is very swift as it descends the steep slopes, and it exerts a great force in cutting the mountain vertically. As a result, a deep valley develops, narrow at the bottom and wide at the top. This is usually called a V-shaped valley. Gorges. A narrow valley between hills or mountains, typically with steep rocky walls and a stream running through it, is called a gorge. Canyon. A canyon is a deep, narrow passage cut through the surface of the earth with steep cliffs on both sides, sometimes called as gorge or ravine too. Canyons are formed often in mountainous, arid regions. The Grand Canyon of America is one best example. Slaters. Plunge pool. When the water falls with great force and digs out the rocks beneath it, it forms a plunge pool. Floodplains. A floodplain is a generally flat area of land next to a river or stream. It stretches from the banks of the river to the outer edges of the valley. Some examples of floodplains are the Ganga, Brahmaputra, Krishna, Godavari. Meanders. A meander is a winding curve or bend in a river. Meanders are the result of both erosional and depositional processes. Oxbow Lake. Sometimes the meander loop cuts off from the river and forms a cut-off lake, which is called an oxbow lake. Delta. When a river reaches the sea, the fine material which is not yet dropped is deposited at its mouth, forming a delta. Work of glaciers. Slow-moving masses of ice are called glaciers. A glacier moves because of the gravitational force. Glacier erodes through a process called plucking. It lifts pieces of rock and transports them. These pieces of rock and the moving ice together act like a sandpaper on the surface of the rock over which they flow. The glaciers act as an abrasive and erodes the bedrock. Through dual process of plucking and abrasion, glaciers create a U-shaped valley. The debris deposited by glacier in the form of huge rugged boulders, small pebbles, cobbles, sand, etc. is called till. The deposition of till is called moraines. Let us now understand the work of waves. Do you know, Slaters, what are these landforms called? How were they formed? Yes, these landforms are the coastal landforms, and they are formed due to erosion and deposition of sea waves. As sea waves continuously strike at the rocks, cracks develop in them over time. Gradually, hollow caves are formed on the rocks. As these cavities become bigger and bigger, only the roof of the caves remain and form sea arches. Further erosion breaks the roof and only walls are left. These walls-like features are called stacks. The steepy, rocky coast rising almost vertically above seawater is called sea cliff. When sea cliff weathers further, it forms rugged capes and bays. Bay. A bay is a body of water partially surrounded by land. It is a wide-mouthed recess in the line of the coast. A cape is a headland cutting out into the sea. Capes are formed in three ways: by erosion, ocean currents, and glacier. Depending on the nature of rock material of the cape, we can easily find out about its formation. Rocky capes are carved out of erosion by ocean currents where the softer rock material is washed away, leaving the rocky bit. The sea waves deposit sediments along the shores, forming beaches. Let us learn about the work of wind on the lithosphere. Wind is a dominant agent in the hot deserts. Do you know, Slaters, how much of land is as desert on the earth? Nearly about 20% of land is under deserts. Some are rocky, others are stony, whereas some others are sandy. Strong winds carry sand and fine soil which strike the large rocks. What is this rock called? Yes, it's a mushroom rock. Winds erode the lower section of the rocks more than the upper part. Therefore, such rocks have narrower bottoms and wider top. They look like mushrooms, so they're called mushroom rock. What is this called? Yes, you identified it right. It is a sand dune. Due to weathering and persistent wind action, there is a large accumulation of the fine sand in many deserts. These form the sand dunes. They are unstable hills of sand which move with strong winds. Slaters, can you name the most fertile soil? Yes, it is alluvial soil. But do you know, Slaters, there's a type of soil which is found near deserts and it is very fertile as well. The fine dust blown beyond the desert limit is deposited on neighboring lands. Usually, it is yellow in color and is very fertile. This soil is called loess. The plains formed by the deposition of loess are called loess plains. Slaters, what do you think? Does the biosphere have any impact on the lithosphere? Have a look at this image. Yes, children, biosphere contributes to the weathering of rocks in many ways. By driving the roots into the fine cracks or holes in the rock, it enables water and moisture to enter into the rocks, which further enables weathering. On the other hand, the plant or grass cover on the soils prevents easy denudation or transportation of the soil. This is also known as soil erosion. After Industrial Revolution, human beings had a major role in transforming the crust on which we live. So, Slaters, here we come to the end of this video lesson. We have learnt about many important points in this lesson, and I want you to watch this video twice or at least till you are clear about all the concepts. I'll be back soon with another video. Until then, keep learning, Slaters.